How you doing, all? Good evening, and welcome back after the break. We've had about, what was it, like 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks since we were last up. It was, I'm only saying the date was Thursday, the 16th. So more than 3 weeks, actually. So Thursday, the 16th was the last time we did a show right prior to going off for the break. And not entirely, there were some issues with, or there are things with, being able to do the show and being able to do it in terms of a decent, I don't want to say production, but to do it right and make sure it's good. So I had to get some things squared away. So we're kind of at a point now where we're able to go, and for those of you guys that are, old hat at this, no jokes, don't be rough, but able to go live at least on, with YouTube, which is pretty much the platform that I'm going to use more going forward, that I had wanted to use going forward because of the capability of it. Not to say that others don't have some capability, but it just seems like that is by far the more desirable platform to use as the mainstay, as the main component to being able to do, our show, SuperMex Nation. And then eventually, sometime soon over the next few weeks, this month, into the next month, et cetera, in the first quarter, is begin to build our network back. At one point, SuperMex Nation, SuperMex International, the network was, I want to say, 6 or 7 different shows in English and Spanish, covering a wide range of topics, everything from, politics of the day, society, culture, art, entertainment, again, in English and in Spanish by multiple hosts, not just myself, obviously, but different people that have backgrounds or expertises in different areas. So we're going to get back to that. So I'm a little bit, tonight is going to be a little bit informative on what's coming. We got started, kicked up back after a long layoff, some years. And I just wanted to get going again, at least watch this, for the mode and the method myself, for me personally, to get in the habit and the process of informing, educating, and learning and knowing. That way I'm not on air speaking about things that I'm not familiar with or comfortable with or experienced and understanding in and educated in, right? Don't want to do that. So we're kind of there now, and going forward, again, I'll put that as a primer up front. We will have more shows like we did prior. We'll be able to at least get back to that, and it's going to be, obviously bigger and more in terms of what we're going to be able to offer, again, as a network. For starters, and to reinforce, SuperMex Nation, this particular show on this particular stream, is a little bit of the flagship for all of it. And it has more to do specifically with what it is to be SuperMex in America, in international. Okay. And as such, because of that, we're going to stay and cleave closer to topics and issues that are national to international. Not to say we won't do things, or all politics are local, all things important are at your core in your neighborhood, right? And I believe that 100%. But this show, SuperMex Nation, will cleave close to that mentality, that thought, that process of dealing with the most difficult and most important, at the very least important, issues and ideas of the day regarding or referring to, relating to Mexican America, Mexican international. Okay. Notice I didn't say Mexican in Mexico, because I'm not a Mexican in Mexico. I'm a Mexican in America. But I'll speak to those larger issues that go global because of what it does or what it says about the United States. Because whether you like it or not, or whether you admit it or not, the United States is global in its reach and scope at the very least. Okay. Things you do in the U.S. can go global in a heartbeat. Not all countries can say that. Not all people everywhere can say that, but we can. Okay, so that's SuperMex Nation, and that's kind of what we've done. I kept the focus those first few weeks and those first few shows that we did at the end of 2025, and I kept it, at least for now, into my wheelhouse and my background, my areas of expertise. For the record, I'm not saying I'm the expert, but I am expert in a variety of fields. If you live long enough, you study, learn, read, and know and keep yourself engaged and informed without serious, you know, devolution to personal over professional, then you can know some things and you can speak to them with credibility and some expertise. So my areas that I stated initially when we first came on were the areas of our military, our nation's military, our foreign policy as a country, our force posture as a country and its military, and international affairs having to do with global policy and how the United States interacts, relates, and works with the rest of the world. Okay, so I'm keeping it there. And then, of course, on the other end, a background in and some time spent in education, our nation's education system. As a former U.S. history teacher, I taught U.S. history, AP, Euro, and academic decathlon. Those are the classes that I taught, coursework. And so obviously I'll speak from that perspective as well. And then anything, again, that also goes to my areas of expertise or my background, my life, etc., and try as hard as I can not to be too elaborate or pontificate on areas that I have no background or no expertise in. I don't like doing that for the obvious reasons, and I say that because they should be obvious, right? Try not to speak too loudly or run your mouth on things that you're not an expert in. But we do live in a world where people do that a lot. So I'm going to try my damnedest to make sure that I don't do that. And if so, if there is a topic or an issue that comes up that is not my area of expertise or in my wheelhouse, I'll state that in advance. Because if I'm giving an opinion, I'll just tell you what my opinion is, but I'll also state the fact that this is not my background, my wheelhouse, my area of expertise, that there are others that are far more educated, far more informed, far more expert in those areas, right? So we'll leave it at that. So those are the areas that I've spoken to that I wanted to talk about and that we did address toward the end of 2025 as we started again. And I'm going to keep it there for now, but I'm going to put this out today because I've been thinking long and hard about this, talking to people that have watched. We've not gotten a whole lot of watches yet or views because I really haven't pushed it hard. I'm about to start doing that. But in talking to some friends and people that have watched the show, I'm tickling with the format of what we do here. In the past, when we had SuperMex Nation on years ago, right prior to the pandemic and into the pandemic and right out of it in those late teens, early 20s of this past few years, I did SuperMex Nation as a show where I would have guests and we would talk about their areas or their background, their education, their careers, etc., and just have good conversation. It's always good to have others, and we're going to do that. So I will do that. That's a component of SuperMex Nation, and we'll go forward, and that's going to happen pretty soon, probably within the next few weeks. I'll begin having guests again, and we'll speak on topics that I think are of concern to Mexican America, Mexican International. In addition, I'm tinkering with, and I want to leave it here for you guys that are viewing, that are watching, some friends and family close that are strong, dedicated, hardcore supporters that'll never leave me, that are always going to be there. Thank you very much. Appreciated. I want to know because I've been tinkling with this, if there's a component because of what we can do with YouTube and other forms of it, if there's a component that says I can answer or discuss or talk to in a way the viewer, the watcher, the chat member on answering questions or you bringing forward questions on specific issues or topics, again, that relate to what we're talking about. Obviously, I don't want to be talking about, our foreign policy as related to Eastern Europe and someone wants to talk about, are the Dodgers going to get Kyle Tucker today? I don't know. Well, take that back. I do know that I can speak to that because it's an area for me. The Dodgers are my team and, longtime Dodger fan, but it wouldn't be apropos for the current or the issue that we're talking about today. And I think you guys follow that. So let me leave it there, but I want to say that again. Is there a component where you as a viewer or watcher would like to be able to ask questions and then me have them, answered live, again, relating to the topic, on topic, and for the show that we're doing at that time? Is that something you guys would like to do? And if that's the case, please comment one way or the other. And I do like this now because I never really did this when I was on radio. We didn't do the same way. I wasn't like a talk radio guy where we had callers calling and doing that. But I have noticed that I end up getting phone calls or messages after shows asking questions about something we talked about. And I'm saying that, maybe we just answer them while we're at it. If you've got a question and it's legit and it has to do with what we're talking about, and it informs and feeds the discussion, and it educates the viewer, the listener, me too, then I think that maybe that's something that, what I'm saying is I don't think I'm going to mind doing that. I think I might want to do that, but I want to get feedback from you guys as to whether you think that could be something. Like if you're at home and you're listening, like, hey, SuperMex, got you. What about? And then you feed something important like me. And then for the record, there are some things that are really, really important that you may not know or may not understand. I got a lot of feedback on those first few episodes we did, in November, early December, with regard to the legal structure that guides or binds and regulates uniformed personnel in our service, the UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice. I had somebody tell me they didn't know what UCMJ meant, and they would not have known it unless I had said it and spoken out the acronym on air. And there you go. You learn something. And for nothing else, if for nothing else, I definitely want that to be the case. I want you to learn something that we are doing here so that you can inform yourself and that you walk away like, okay, I may not have agreed with everything the guy said, but at least I know more and I'm informed a little bit better on some of the things he talked about that I did not know before. Because I have watched a lot of shows and they don't all instruct that way. They just talk and they tell you about what their position is or what they believe, but they don't always fill you in or background you on those specific areas because you can't be an expert on everything. At least I believe that. You can't be an expert even though some people think they are. Okay, so I don't. Anyway, so I want that kind of feedback in terms of format. Before we move on and we get into the meat of the show here, I wanted to do this little component part at the beginning of the show so that you guys have the ability to kind of inform me and maybe guide and direct where we go forward now with SuperMex Nation. Again, underline it all. I want you to be able to walk away and know a little bit more than when you started, but factually and from an informed perspective, something that is legit, honest, and objectively true. I just don't want to be speaking for no reason. I don't want to waste my time or yours that way, by the way. So inform me there if you can. Comment into the chat component and tell me, would you like, do we do more guests? Let's do some guests on specific areas, right? Do we have a question and answer portion, or are we just like with Facebook, or excuse me, YouTube, you can do super chat and that brings your question right to the front and then I can see it directly and then I get to answer it, right? And I think that's kind of cool. So let's talk a little bit and let's move on from there, but let's talk at least in the chat about what you'd like to see, what you think would be good. You're the viewer. And if you're not getting something out of this, then why are you viewing? You won't want to view anymore. Then I'm wasting my time and yours, but I don't want to do that. So inform me, tell me if that's good. Tell me if you'd like to be able to question or share comments into the chat and ask questions about specific areas or topics that we're talking about on that day, in which case I'd like to answer them. I think that's a good part. And then again, we will get back to having guests as part of our stream and our show that can help me and have a good discussion on a particular topic that's important to us, as a whole, right? Okay, so again, comment about the format, what you guys like to see. I want to keep these shows no more than an hour, somewhere in the 40 to 45, maybe 50 range at most. Boom, boom, boom. That, in essence, is about the length of, slightly less, about the length of what a classroom period of instruction was for me when I was a teacher. I want to say it was 57 minutes, 56 minutes total, not quite an hour, but a little bit less. And I had to have my lesson plan. I had to have the things that I was going to discuss and go over with my students. And when they walked out of that class, they had to know those things before they walked out. And so it kept me nice, tight, and lean that way in terms of the instruction and the topic or the lesson plan in that case, right? And in a way, that's kind of, informed me how I want to do this. Don't want to do too long. Don't want to do too short. That's a different arena. Deciding we will get back to 10 minutes of truth. I really like doing that. 10 to 15 minutes, one topic, boom, 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 and get out. So we'll have that coming too. But again, for SuperMex Nation, comment, tell me what you'd like to see. Tell me what you believe. I'm not saying I'm going to do all of them or any of them. I'm just saying I want that information. You inform me so then I can figure out and go forward with what viewers and listeners are going to want to see in terms of what the show is. Okay, let's go forward and let's move into the meat. So I said that the first day, or excuse me, the last day, the last show that we did before going into the break, was the exact day was 12/16/25, and that was a Thursday right prior. And so I put up on here, so we're gonna do that in a second, but the Thursday right prior to going off for the break, and the Thursday before the release of the Epstein files, or at least the supposed release of the Epstein files. That Thursday is when we went off. So there's been a lot that has gone on. Obviously, there's plenty. There's not enough time in one show, one sit down here to go over everything that's gone on, in that window of time since we were last on the 19th, excuse me, the 16th. So I'm gonna keep it to a few things here that I posted into the topic or the description for the show tonight. I put Venezuela, Jack Smith, and the TrumpStein files. So let me tackle those three in that order, and then we'll be good for the night. Okay, so in that order. First things first, the Venezuela situation. We had talked about the boats and the attack on those boats and our policy/program of basically obliterating and murdering people. You heard what I said, murdering people in the Caribbean based on the fact, or based on what our government is telling us they're doing, which is they're making the world or the country safer from drugs. And there's so many holes you can shoot in at, it's not even funny. It would take a show in and of itself, by itself, just to cover all the lies and the fallacies of that statement. Right? I think I said on air that last time that the one in particular, the boat where the two guys were smoked after they were hit the first time. And I said back then, are we at war with Venezuela? Because if we are at war with Venezuela, then those two gentlemen, those two people, drug dealers or just regular people, I don't know, and you don't know. But those two men that were trying to claw back onto safety, unarmed and unable to harm anybody, incapacitated in that regard, were basically blown out of the water a second time and then done and then dead. If we are at war, then that is a violation of international law. It's a violation of UCMJ, our own Uniform Code of Military Justice that governs our personnel. It's a violation of a Geneva Convention that governs international warfare law, etc. So all wrong in any way. But then the point was, I asked the question, are we at war? And the question is rhetorical. We're not at war. So then that doesn't even apply. So if we're not at war and we're attacking these guys, then what is it? And so since that time, the narrative has been from the administration that this is a policing action. Bear in mind, it's a policing action using our most sophisticated military and military operators, our force, all right, the United States military. That's distinction. The United States military is not a policing force. And I've heard and listened to a lot of my friends to the right of the aisle, conservative, bitch and complain about how we should not be policing the world. I've heard that directly for years. And in many ways, I agree with them. We should not be the world's police force. We should insert or step in when it is clear and objectively identifiable that there is a problem or something that is global that will affect our allies or us. That's fair. And I agree with that 100%. And if you're a traditional, real conservative, you agree with me there. Okay. You will agree with me there. However, what we're doing in the Caribbean is not. If that's a policing action that we're making our country safer from drugs, again, a whole bunch of, basically, I'll just say it, a whole bunch of bullshit, lies, because that boat in particular wasn't even headed to the United States. It was headed out into the Atlantic going east. But we were told that. So I don't know about you, but if I'm told something, I actually want to check and double check. I know if you're in the Trump cult, you just take it at face value and just believe it 100%. He can give you a shit sandwich, and if he tells you it tastes like meatloaf, you're going to say so. That's on you, not me. So the point to this now is, I'm going to ask that question again. Are we at war with Venezuela? And the answer is a resounding no. Correct? And you at home should be shaking your head. Well, yeah, that's true. We're not at war because, as I stated in the prior show, in late 25, right prior to going off for the break, Christmas vacation, holidays, I stated that under the Constitution, and reminder, some of us still believe in the Constitution, actually adhere to it, some of us, under the Constitution, only the Congress can declare war against a foreign nation, foreign power. Only the Congress. And last I checked, we have not declared war as a Congress, the People's House, the first branch of government. Okay? I say the People's House because we elect those people to represent us directly. They had not declared war, and they have not declared war. So fast forward to now, and in the intervening window and what has gone on, there's been a whole bunch, right, that has gone on since we left from that December 16th last show. And if you get to now, where are we? We've literally kidnapped, and I'll say again, we've kidnapped a foreign head of state. And on record, because you kind of have to say this, do I think Nicolas Maduro is a great guy, a great world leader? He actually cares about his people? No, hell no. I'm not saying that at all. But the ends do not justify the means. You cannot just say that's a bad guy, so I need to wipe him out, take him out, murder him, whatever the hell, right? Some of you want to say that. Some of you want to believe that. But if you're really American and you believe in a constitution and you believe in due process, you believe in rights and freedoms, then you treat everybody the same. Everybody. Okay? The problem here, long-term, larger, is that if we are in the practice as a country now of our president just not liking someone, then we use our nation's military to just go kidnap them or wipe them out. Some of you would actually say like, oh yeah, cool, let's do that, right? Because some of you are not smart. That would be okay for you. That would be easy. That would be the reflexive Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, and a whole bunch of other Philistine names to describe you, where you're all id and you don't consider your actions and the responsibilities of your actions. You just do what you want to do because it feels good at the time, or you think it's right at the time. And you don't care what the consequences are, not for you, but for everybody else. The consequences for the United States and the people in it, for what Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and these fools are doing now, is they are not only just damaging and destroying our reputation and our alliances with the rest of the world and the rest of the free world that we used to lead. And let me make sure I'm clear on that, and I wanted to put a point on that. We no longer lead the free world. That was a moniker and a title and something ascribed to the United States. And usually its head of state, the president of the United States. That is the leader of the free world. And that's gone on for a long time. And I haven't liked a lot of presidents Democrat or Republican. I'm a little hardline that way. I don't like either for the most part. It takes a lot for me to get to like a president. But where we are now, we can definitely no longer say we lead the free world. The United States does not lead the free world. Do we scare the rest of the world? Yes. Do we influence? Do we intimidate? Do we kidnap the rest of the world? Yes, clearly. But no, we do not lead the free world anymore, because the rest of the world has figured out that we are no longer a reliable and trustworthy partner, let alone leader, when it comes to the rest of the globe. That's a fact. Some of you buried in your MAGA cult lives, you don't want to hear that because you don't want the information coming to you from outside sources, the rest of the world. But that is a fact. If you inform yourself, you read, you listen, you learn about what other countries are saying and doing regarding the United States, you will find out quickly and handily that no, we do not lead them anymore. They do not follow us anymore. And why do they not follow us? Because we are not what we pretend or say that we are. A nation that fights for and defends democracy. That's gone. That's gone. We don't do that anymore. We do not. Donald Trump has done everything he can to sell Ukraine up the river and let Putin have his way with it, because in an underlying tacit way, Donald Trump wants to do the very same thing in Latin America, Central America, and the Western Hemisphere. And why am I saying that? Because we're doing it. It's already being done. Nicolas Maduro kidnapped and taken and then spelled out by the president, in essence, that we did it for the oil. So there's no debate here. He already said it. He just said it outright. But not enough of you disagree with that. Not enough of you are real Americans. Not enough of you believe that we fight for democracy. We don't impose or intimidate or do whatever the hell we want because we can. And let me break it down to the simplest common form here. There's a guy on the street, and he's a bully. He's bigger than you. He can kick your ass. Or maybe you're that bully. Maybe that's why you like it, right? Might makes right. I can whoop his ass, therefore I should. There you go. Definitely not the enlightened approach. The way I was raised, the way I was taught, and the way I was trained. Just because you can whoop somebody's ass doesn't mean you should. It's far better to have more friends than enemies. If you just start whooping everybody's ass, if you just start doing whatever the hell you want in Central America, Latin America, as a country, as the United States, do you really think that all of those countries are going to be okay with it and they're just going to kiss your ass like, oh, we're afraid of you, so we'll do what you say? No, that is how empires fall. That is how states and governments recede and digress. They get too big for their britches. They think they're too badass. They think they can do whatever the hell they want. And the result is, and I've used this example before, the big dog on the street, right? Every big old dog, all the little dogs are afraid of him. And there comes a time when that dog has basically beat up on all the little dogs. And all those little dogs get tired. And they know they can't beat him one-on-one. Insert United States here if you want. They can't beat them one-on-one. Then they all just gang up and they get together and they form a coalition, an alliance, and they just all at once beat the hell out of the big dog. That is how history works. That is the history of us as a people. If you are informed historically, you will see that there is always a great power, a world power that is stronger than the others, and they recede, they digress, they degrade, and they cease to be the world's leading power. It's been going on for a long time. As long as humans have existed and as long as humans have congregated, there's always someone or something or some group that will be that, and then there are always others that will take them out. Okay? Not saying that's going to happen to us tomorrow, But I'll leave it on that point with regard to the Venezuela situation. And I'm going to give you a kernel that you may not be getting somewhere else. But I did kind of say some things before we went on. This was well back then, almost a month now. Okay. Almost a month ago that I said this. And then lo and behold, these things happen. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. It's just a bunch of books that I've read over a lifetime that have culminated in the information that I'm sharing with you now. Okay. We are not at war with Venezuela because the Congress has not declared war. But we, the United States, has gone into Venezuela, not just kidnapped a foreign leader, a head of state, which is stupid. Oh, yeah. We kidnapped him because he's a bad guy and he oversees drugs coming to the United States. And that's stupid because Donald Trump just pardoned an ex-head of state who was dealing drugs and was convicted of it. So that horse shit doesn't wash here. Moving on. So we're removing people from position, just taking them out because we can. In addition, and we'll find out more, and there will be increasing information over time. Ladies and gentlemen, there always is. There will always be more information. It's just in the moment, you fall for what they give you without using the gray matter between the ears to ask questions and to disbelieve upfront in advance. And then if you're wrong, great, outstanding. I was wrong. I'm glad I was wrong. But I disbelieve in advance. I disbelieve up front what they're telling me. And what I do know is this. It wasn't just a kidnapping of a foreign official, a foreign leader. There were people that were killed that night by our people, innocent people just doing their damn job. Venezuelan people were killed, and I'll say it, murdered, because this is not war. We're not at war. And now I'm going to get to the point that you're not going to forget after tonight out of this show. We're not at war. So we wiped out, and the conservative guesses so far are saying the 50 to 60 range. I've heard upwards up to 80 people. Innocent people that were doing their job in their country. In their country. We went on foreign soil and killed, murdered Venezuelan people doing their job. I'm not talking about Maduro. I'm talking about the people that do their damn job because that's what they're paid to do. Defend their country, defend their people. Defend their president, even if he's garbage or he's a piece of shit. All right? It's not the point. Innocents were killed that night by the United States. Fact. And we'll find out exactly how much over time. We'll see the number. And you sleep with that tonight, knowing that the United States went and killed people unnecessarily. We didn't have to, but we did it. Okay? Because I'm going to say it again. We're not at war. So if this isn't war, then we murdered them. We just killed them outright. All right? And last point, and here's what you're going to remember. Here's what you're not going to forget from tonight, at least on this particular topic with Venezuela. This is what I want you to remember. We're not at war, but we went on to a sovereign state's soil, foreign soil, attacked and killed innocent people, Venezuelans that were doing their job. We did that. We just did that. And the want on the part of this administration and our upper leadership, Hegseth, the traitor Trump, the want is that Venezuela does respond and does hit back and does fight back, because then you know what happens? Then the predicate has been delivered. And now the Secretary of Defense and the president can go to the Congress and say, see, look, they attacked us. It's quite literally some schoolyard bully shit. I mean, literally. Some guy punches you because he wants to fight with you. Kind of hits you, but he provokes you, wants you to fight back. So then you can really start the stuff, right? That is what we're doing. Don't forget this night. Don't forget this comment. That is literally what we are doing right now. We are provoking and attempting to provide the predicate so that we can declare war and unilaterally just smoke and beat the hell out of Venezuela as a country. and control their oil fields and control their people. And in the president's own words, run their country. Last I checked, 250 years, give or take a few, ago, we fought back because someone tried to control us. We fought back because they were using us for our resources, our personnel, and our people. The British Crown, King George, and the government. And we fought back against it. We fought a revolution and said, hell no, we won't take that shit, and we're going to fight back. Boston Tea Party. I can give you a whole bunch of other cool names, titles, and dates that we started a war to kick that person, that king, that government out of our lives. And we're doing that same damn thing to Venezuela right now. Oh, how those wheels have turned in a quarter of a millennium. That is who we are now. So don't forget that. Put a pin on this part right here. Our government is attempting and doing it to provoke and provide predicate for a declaration of war or further escalation so we can attack and kill more Venezuelans to get what we want, oil and who knows what else, right? And for the record, this is all not subjective. These are all facts. These things have taken place and are taking place currently. All that in that window of time from from December 16th until now. I can get into granular detail on particular items of all the breakdown of what happened, how it happened that night, et cetera, the lead up. We don't have time for that because I've got to move on. We don't have forever. Maybe addressed at another time in a specific show, but for the most part, in total, that is what I need you to remember. Mexican America, I need you to remember this. We are now attacking foreign nations and killing. Why am I say killing and murdering? Because we're not at war. If they're enemy combatants, that becomes different. Venezuela has not declared war. They didn't attack us. They didn't provoke a fight. And last point there, constitutionally correct. For those of you that either don't know or you're too far the cult rabbit hole. How many of you, rhetorically asked question, how many of you remember what happened when we were attacked by the Japanese Empire in December that led to World War II or us entering World War II? Pearl Harbor. We were attacked. Our people, our military was attacked on our soil in Hawaii. We were attacked. Did the president declare war against the Japanese Empire? No, because it is not the purview, prerogative, or the constitutional right of the United States president to declare war. For those of you that remember, had a good history teacher and taught you, and if I didn't, I apologize, my failure. FDR went to the Congress, and the Congress declared war against the Japanese Empire because that is what the Constitution, our Constitution, says you have to do. We're not doing that here, ladies and gentlemen, because the President of the United States doesn't give a shit about the Constitution. He wipes his ass with my Constitution. And it's a fat ass that he wipes it with. Don't forget that. We are not at war. We're killing people. And the Constitution dictates who declares war and who does not. Don't forget that. So when you're arguing or you're talking to your Trump cult member friends, inform them of fact of what this is. Moving on. I posted just for a second the Jack Smith interview and hearing closed in the Congress. He was interviewed and asked about his investigation into Donald Trump prior to the election and then immediately the results thereafter. So I'm going to keep this one nice and sweet, nice and short here. But this is what I want you to remember. Let's keep it on that end. The things that I want you to remember after we've had this discussion, we've talked it out openly, right? We put it out. Jack Smith was the federal prosecutor in charge of and responsible, tasked with the special counsel's office of investigating the crimes committed by Donald Trump. And there's no debate here. They're crimes. Just because he got away with them doesn't make them not crimes. And he was convicted of things anyway, so he's a criminal, all right? What I found interesting, and one thing that you need to remember, is how this rolled out. The Epstein files were supposed to be released on the Friday before we went off, so that was December 17th of 2025. And we'll get to that in a second. But in that intervening window, Jack Smith also interviewed with the Congress, and they asked him questions. And then they released, or they were supposed to have released, the full tape, the full video, audio tape of recording of Jack Smith's testimony. For the record, I did watch it. It was a lot. I want to say it was like 7 or 8 hours. A little busted up. You know, there were some breaks, but 7 to 8 hours in that range. And I found it interesting, and you should too. That's code. You know, if I'm saying I find it interesting, it's because it's horseshit. There you go. There's code. I tell you the truth. They released it on New Year's Eve. That's when the Congress released it. Why would they release it on New Year's Eve? Because they know that America is not paying attention and doesn't give a shit because they're too busy partying or getting ready for a party. That's America, by the way. I'll put this on record. If you wanted to wipe us out, if you wanted to take us out, if you were a foreign power, a foreign entity, or a coalition of other countries that wanted to wipe out the United States, hit our dumb asses on Super Bowl Sunday. Because we wouldn't even know what to do. We wouldn't even understand what the hell's going on. Huh? Yeah, get out of here, fool. I'm watching my game. Oh, I've been cooking all day, man. Can't do it. That's the United States, right? So they released it on New Year's Eve, and very few people watched it. I did. And after watching it, more became clear. In essence, and I'll summarize here for my listeners, my viewers, he pretty much just stated it flat out that he had him. The guy, you know, Trump is guilty. Guilty as all hell. But he could not close the deal because he won the election, and President Biden waited too damn long. Merrick Garland sat on his ass as an attorney general, didn't move this fast enough. They didn't appoint Jack Smith till too late in the game, and it took too damn long. And Trump just dragged his feet and held him up in court, and he got away with it. But there's no question, if you read, not a lot of you do, especially in the Trump bubble, you will see that he not only committed a crime, but he committed them, and he laughed about it and got away with it. But that's my point. All right, so let me finish the Jack Smith point. His information, it's out there right now. I'm informing you guys. It's out there right now. You can go pull it up. I think you can go to our government website. I think it's like senate.gov or house.gov, whatever. If I have to, maybe I'll come back and provide a link maybe into the show after I'm done tonight, maybe tomorrow. And then you can go read for yourself. Right? He did it. He did all these things. And he just got away with them. Because I don't think we have the spine anymore as a country to hold people accountable. If we ever did that way. If we ever did. Because Donald Trump is guilty beyond sin. And because he got away with it doesn't make him not a criminal. Read the Jack Smith information. Watch some of the interview if you can. I got to wonder, and I'm not going to be racist here, but I'm like, where are those white people? Where are those white guys like Jack Smith? Damn, those dudes are something. No Mexican dude, but I love that dude. That dude is legit. He's all business. It is the job. And you cannot compromise him. You cannot move him. You cannot bribe him. You cannot intimidate him. Where are those white people at? Where are those white people in power, hyper-educated, super badass white folk at? Because they're not in the positions that needed to hold Donald Trump accountable. Senators, representatives, et cetera, the United States Supreme Court, I can go on and on. What the hell happened there? Because those are the white people that I grew up lionizing and believing in, not because of the color of their skin, but because of how they went about their damn business, who they were, how they conducted themselves, how they adhered to their belief and their system and their principles. That's Jack Smith, this dude. That's about as white boy sounding name as you're going to get, Jack Smith. Pretty cool. Anyway, without it sounding like it's a racist issue, it's not. I'm just saying that the point is there are a lot of white folk that are not like that guy anymore. They're lazy. They don't give a shit. They're intellectually like incapacitated with any effort on their part. They kick back and just believe whatever the hell they hear. They believe in what they're told, or they're so damn corrupt that they don't even give a shit and they know they're wrong. They just do it anyway to better themselves in their own position, either moving up or making more money. Give me more white folk like Jack Smith and I'm good. He doesn't have to be brown. I don't need everybody to be brown like me. I don't need everybody to be black or white or green or orange. I need everybody to believe in a principle and adhere to it and not be spineless in the face of blatant, outright corruption and criminality. There's a shirt for you. That's a good one. Read on the Jack Smith thing. Let's wind up here. Because I kind of alluded to it right prior to that. It's the same thing in essence. Basically, it's a marketing, a PR strategy to bamboozle and bullshit people that don't have the brain capacity or power or patience and self-discipline to not be swayed by the cool, shiny object and to stay focused on the meat of a matter. The meat of a matter. As I said a little bit earlier, called a little bit of foreshadowing and front loading. We went off. Our last show of 2025 was the 16th of December. And the very next day was the release of, or the supposed release of, the Jeffrey Epstein files. Not to go too far, make it simple. Jeffrey Epstein is going to go down in history as the most talked about, well-known, and infamous child sex trafficker, predator, pedophile in the history of our country. I think that's there. We're already there. And that information was supposed to be released that Friday. To date, at least as a few days ago with the numbers that I got, we have not scratched the surface. I want to say the files that have been released by the Department of Justice, and for the record, this was a law enacted by Congress. Be clear, Congress doesn't do shit anymore, let alone get together and agree on one thing and enact the damn law. The Congress passed a law regarding the Epstein files and how they were to be released to the public. That is a law. Let's be clear, that's a damn law. And they were supposed to be released on December 17th of 2025. To date, the public actually has access, because that was the law. It's got to be released and open to the public. The public has access to less than, I want to say 5. I'm going to be wrong here, and I'll update and get corrected, and I'll speak to this on the Thursday. We'll be back on Thursday night, same time. I'll update and give the precise information. But it is well under 10%. I think it's even under 5% of the total of what the Epstein files are, meaning we've gotten less than 5% of the Epstein files. And you're sitting here like, well, no, yes, that's correct. The law stipulated and stated that it was supposed to be released on the 17th of 2025. And to date, nearly a month later, we are still under less than 5% of everything that was supposed to be released. So how the hell does that work? Because they're breaking the damn law. Now watch this. The Department of Justice and the executive branch, headed by the lard-ass in chief, Donald Trump, they are in charge of all of this. It is on the executive branch to execute the laws. The first branch of government, the Congress, is supposed to legislate and create the law. The executive branch executes those laws and enforces them and sees that they are implemented and abided by. And I might as well, since I'm there. And the third branch of government, the judicial branch, is there to interpret and define what those laws that are created by the Congress, executed and followed by the president. The judicial branch is supposed to interpret them and tell us what they mean, what they are. Big circle, watch that. 3, right? Interpret, tell us what they are. Legislative branch creates, moves them on. The president follows them and executes them, makes sure that we are literally in a time when the executive branch is not only not following the law, they're outright breaking the damn law and not abiding by what Congress is putting out. And we're sitting here watching it in real time. You've heard this term tossed about. It is legit. It is true. It is a fact. It is where we are. This is constitutionally a crisis of branches conflicting, disagreeing, and not abiding by the constitutional intent of what those branches are. If the president and the Department of Justice that he oversees does not abide by the laws of the Congress, then what the fuck are we doing? I mean, quite literally, what are we doing? We're watching in real time as the person responsible for making sure the laws are enforced and executed is actively breaking them. So the Epstein files were not released in full, in total, as they were supposed to be by a law enacted by the nation's Congress. The people that we elect, by the way, are direct representatives. We don't elect the Supreme Court. We kind of elect the president, but that's 50 states, right? But we elect our representatives and our state senators directly from our ballot. They are our people representing us directly in the Congress that writes the laws. And their laws are not being followed. They're being broken. So the Epstein files have not been released. Not a coincidence that as they released them coordinated on certain times and certain days so that it went through the holidays. Because last point here, and I've gone on quite a bit, but last point here. If Donald Trump abided by his campaign promise, insert joke, or if you're on YouTube or Facebook, insert a laugh emoji or something funny. I'll tell you what, someone post a sticker or a GIF or something really, really funny. I like seeing that, right? To these comments right here. If Donald Trump wanted to release the Epstein files as he promised in his campaign leading up, getting elected, telling you guys what you wanted to hear so you can vote for him, and you did, some of you, not the majority, by the way. The majority of people in this country did not vote for Trump. Make that clear. He got a majority of the electorate, but this country is 350 million people. Obviously, some are minors, but the electorate itself, he did not get a majority. He just got more than the other person. It's not a majority. Clear. So he is overseeing the Justice Department. They did not release all the Epstein files. They released it sporadically and in small pieces over the holiday. Because again, in dumb shit America, we don't pay attention enough. Now, I'm being a little harsh here. If you're not part of dumb shit America, then great. If you are, nothing but love for you. I got nothing for you. They were released through the holidays, Christmas, right before Christmas, right after, right before New Year's, etc., to dilute the impact, to keep your eye on a shiny object, not that. What I'm saying is I wrap up tonight with my audience. And this is what I want my audience to be going forward. Mexican America and anybody, again, I'm those of you that know me well know that I'm far from a racial guy that way. I don't believe that any one group is so much more special than another. I happen to be of this. I'm also part European technically as well. I'm like half and half, part European, part native to this land. But I want my listener, my viewer, hell, I've said this on air before. Question me too. I'm cool with that. Just don't question me for bullshit, and don't question me because you kiss ass to Donald Trump. Please don't do that, because I will light your ass up. Because you're easy to light up if you're defending his bullshit. But question me and question the information that you get. Question the information I'm giving to you. Good. Then you're building your mind, you're building your capacity. Don't trust anyone. Verify, check, confirm. Do all of that. And I'm comfortable telling you to do that because the stuff that I'm giving you is verifiable, is confirmable, can be checked. You can find out for yourself. And then, as always, When you do see that I told you the truth and you do see that what I'm telling you is the case, then you're going to believe me a little bit more and you're going to come back and you're like, well, he tells the truth. He's saying what I think in my head and he's saying it out loud for everybody to hear, right? My lips to God's ears? No, my lips to everybody's ears. I don't care who hears because I'm not lying. I'm not telling you an untruth. But do that for yourself, if not for me. If I walk out of this building tonight and I croak and you never hear me again, at least remember that damn thing. Check, verify, confirm for yourself the truth. All right? As of right now, Donald Trump and his Department of Justice are actively breaking the law. They broke the law when they did not release all of the Epstein files because that was what the law stipulated, that it was supposed to be released on this day. It was not. It was, oh, we don't have enough time. Oh, look at bullshit. If Donald Trump wanted these files released, he could have released them on January 21st of last year. And here we are going into the first full year of his first term, his second term of this presidency. And they're still not all released. So you got hoodwinked, you got gamboozled, you got bullshitted, and you fell for it. He gave you a big shit sandwich, told you it was a meatloaf, you bit down, and it isn't tasting good, but oh, it's meatloaf. Damn, this is good meatloaf. That's who the Trump voter is as of right now. You love that shit sandwich. Throw a little bit of salt on it. If you're like me, throw some salsa, although I don't eat a shit sandwich. I'll spit it out and tell that son of a bitch that it's shit. That's what you should do. If you're part of my Mexican America, and again, you don't have to be Mexican or brown, you can be everything. My Mexican America is we don't tolerate that kind of shit, and we say something about it. White, black, blue, brown, green, orange, Democrat, liberal, libertarian. I don't give a shit what you are. Call the truth out for what it is as you see it, and don't be weak and soft and accept it. The TrumpStein files. See how it plays out. I think what I will do is I'm going to finish up here. I think what I will do is I'm going to address this in a scholarly fashion and break it down so that it's comprehensible and understandable. And for those of you out there that actually give a shit about truth and give a shit about people protecting pedophiles, is in essence, Donald Trump has become a pedophile protection ring. He is the ringleader of a pedophile protection operation that is our United States government. And I don't want to hear any shit about, oh, he's doing it in the past. No, we're right now doing it. And he's breaking the law to do it. The TrumpStein files. Because as history is written, he will be remembered just as much as Jeffrey Epstein because he is tied to him. It will go down in the history books. And as I've said before, and if it isn't in the history books, I'll write the damn book myself to make sure that it is. We're good for tonight. We'll be back up on Thursday. We'll touch up. Comment a little bit more now that we're up and good. And I think we've got our flow. We're going to stay with the Tuesday, Thursdays for now. We'll be way more consistent and ongoing. I think we've got some of the kinks worked out, at least through Facebook, so that we're operational and consistent with how we stream out. And then we'll add as we go. We'll add more. But yeah, if you're watching, if you're one of mine, comment into the sections, comment into Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, and tell me what you'd like to see with regard to the show and how we do it, format-wise. You want to see more guests going forward, obviously? Do you want more question and answer components so you can ask a question that you might have that's important and that you need for yourself to make sense of the garbage that you hear? All of the above, or any other suggestions for that matter. All is fair game and open. I'm not promising I'll do all of them, but I will definitely listen and I'll consider, and we will add as we go forward. Okay? That's my nation. That's SuperMex Nation. I want to say thank you to everybody. We'll be back again, like I said, on the Thursday. Pick up right around the same time for 6:30. Okay? Keep your head down. Stay focused. Learn as much as you can. Don't tolerate bullshit, and don't be weak and spineless. Question everything. Thank you.